We are beginning the most unforgettable birthday party any country has ever seen. Oh, you're going to have a good time. You're going to have a good time with the great American State Fair. It's going to be great. It's going to be unbelievable. But we're going to have special performances, patriotic music, high-tech demonstrations. Then on July 4th, we will have the greatest show of all on the National Mall. Your favorite president will be speaking. So please show up.
It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. Happy 4th of July. Happy birthday, America. Even though the Trump regime has tried desperately to co-opt this day, as many of us expected, the sheer incompetence and corruption they brought to the effort doomed them from the start. The Great American State Fair on the National Mall was a perfect visualization of how empty, how hollowed out MAGA has become. Try as they may, the forces of Trumpism cannot take this day from us, just as they cannot take patriotism. The real 4th of July celebration is happening across America in backyards and public places where the president is not. I talked to Governor Wes Moore about what it really means to love your country on a day like this. Spoiler, it's not just about what America is, it's about what America can and should be if we don't give up on it. Here's our conversation. Governor Wes Moore, thank you so much for joining us. I hear a lot of people say, as we are approaching the 250th anniversary of this country, you know what? We had a good run. I guess we know how long democracies last. It's 250 years. Are our best days as a nation behind us?
You know, I hear it too. And I do understand that for a lot of people, they are feeling very cynical and they're feeling very disillusioned and frustrated. And the truth is that I get it, right? I also know that I'm the most improbable governor in this country. That, when this country was founded 250 years ago, the idea that I could be a governor was actually impossible. And I think there is an arc that we have to appreciate about how this country goes, is that, that while all of our journeys aren't simple, I think what makes this country the greatest experiment in world history is just the opportunities and the possibilities that drive us. And so I don't think this is a moment to tell people that their cynicism is unfounded, because actually there's a lot to people's cynicism. The thing that I'm hoping for is that people can look at their cynicism and let it be your companion, but don't let it be your captor. Right? Let it be something that you hold on to. It's something I hold on to every single day, but don't let it be something that paralyzes me or makes you unable to be able to be part of what is a larger healing that I think is going to be necessary and required right now.
This administration has gone to extraordinary lengths to try to make this celebration about one person, starting with that outrage of a UFC fight on the White House lawn, the People's House, on up to the July 4th celebration. We had a rally just this week that was supposed to be a celebration of the country's 250th birthday, and it turned into a political event. How do you help reclaim the idea of this birthday as an American event and not a Republican event or a Trump rally or something that just celebrates one man, honestly, in opposition to everything that the Declaration of Independence, which we're celebrating, was about?
Well, I have come to the conclusion that the president is just uniquely incapable of rising to the moment. He doesn't have the capacity, nor the interest in doing it. And to your point, I mean, the fact that you would turn the 250-year birthday of the greatest experiment in world history into a personal political rally just shows me you have no interest in actually thinking about the future of this country. And so we've actually decided that what we're going to do in Maryland, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to do some counter programming, where, I'm going to give a speech in our state house. And it is the oldest operating state house in the United States of America. It's a state that was built by the hands of enslaved people. And I will be standing there as the first African-American governor in our state's history, talking about the work of patriotism, talking about what it means for us to be a part of this, of this journey, because we are a nation of strength, because we're a nation of sacrifice. That the reason that we're all here is because there were people who were willing to sacrifice for the hope of us, and understanding that this country was born incomplete, that this country was born, unfulfilled, that it was born with a hope, and that the hope was that we will be a country of patriots, not blind nationalism, but patriotism. And that's the thing that we're going to spend our time celebrating, instead of listening to a political rally that is going to be taking place in Washington, D.C.
I suspect that your understanding of patriotism, like mine, although I arrived at this understanding later than I wish I had, but it recognizes it as a demand of this country. And a little context here, I joined the Navy decades ago in a different life because I was grateful for what my country had given me. But I served with Black Americans in particular who joined because they wanted to hold their country accountable to the promises it had made and not kept. And when I think about that in the context of America today and of a patriotism that asks more of the country, that asks the country to be what it promises to be, I cannot think of a purer form of patriotism. Please elucidate that for us.
That's exactly right. I think about patriots like my grandfather, who was born, first one of my mom's side of the family born in the United States of America, was born in South Carolina. And when he was just a child, my great grandfather, who was a minister, was receiving threats from the Ku Klux Klan. And he picked up his family and they left. And they didn't just leave South Carolina. They left the United States of America and went back to Jamaica. And many members of my family never came back to this country. But my grandfather did. And he eventually came back to the United States. He went to Lincoln University, which was an HBCU in Pennsylvania. And he became a minister just like his father, just like my great grandfather. And the same threats that started coming to my great grandfather started coming to my grandfather, because he became the first Black minister in the history of the Dutch Reformed Church. And he stuck. And he always said this country would be incomplete without me. And, I say this is a man, he actually died when I was in Afghanistan. I led soldiers with the 82nd Airborne Division in Afghanistan. And he died when I was in Afghanistan. And, he was maybe he had a Jamaican accent, a deep Jamaican accent his entire life. And he was maybe the most patriotic American I've ever met. Like, he loved this country. He believed in its hope. He believed in its vision. He believed in its story. And he thought he played an important role in its journey. And I believe that's what patriotism actually is. That patriotism is a belief that not only is this a beautiful and unique story, but that story is supposed to be big enough for you too, to be an author, to have your fingerprints on it. And we're surrounded by patriots, people who are willing to sacrifice today if it means they can forge a better tomorrow. And that's the thing that I want to make sure is always celebrated when it comes to what makes this country the most special and unique experiment in world history.
Hey, it's Ken. Quick break to update you on the fundraiser for the 34th Coastal Defense Brigade in Ukraine. Because of you, we beat our goal. We've already initiated the purchase of the motor upgrade for their rescue boat, and we are assessing other urgent needs to direct the remaining funds towards. I cannot thank you enough. This was the first unit-specific fundraiser we've done here, and given its overwhelming success, I think we'll do more. Thanks again. Back to the show. One of the most radical ideas conveyed in our Declaration of Independence, signed 250 years ago, almost to the day, is the idea that the legitimacy of government comes from the consent of the government. How do you think about resistance and not guaranteeing that consent to an increasingly authoritarian government on the 250th birthday of this country?
I think people get it twisted when they think that somehow dissent or protest is unpatriotic or un-American. Actually, there's a reason why it's the First Amendment. It's not the 10th nor the 20th nor the 150th Amendment. It's the first, a freedom of speech, a freedom of assembly. Like, that's how important this thing was. And so I just think that our collective responsibility is to be a part of making it better, not to believe in a past that wasn't there, or to believe in a history that is not true. You know, loving your country doesn't mean lying about its history. Our country's history is deeply uneven. I think about it as the governor of a state. I think about the flag of the state of Maryland, where, I say I think it's the most beautiful flag in this country. I think it's the most meaningful flag in this country, but it is by definition, it's a contradiction, right? Two opposing ideas put together, combined. And when you have, a Union symbol and Confederate symbol put side by side, there's something powerful about our flag. There's something powerful about our history. But what's powerful about it is that we don't shy away from it. We acknowledge the complexity that the Mason-Dixon line runs through our state. We acknowledge the complexity that the bloodiest battles of the Civil War were not fought in Louisiana or Alabama or South Carolina. They were fought in Maryland, right? We acknowledge this, and that we are the northernmost southern state in this country. But there's a lot about us that actually should not make us bow our heads, but should make us lift our heads, knowing that there was a remarkable journey that got us here to this point, and it's something we do not ever want to lose sight of.
I think people are increasingly thinking about the Civil War as a way to understand the times we're in and hopefully avoid the horrors that we have been through before as a country. Is it too soon, though, to start thinking about reconciliation? Because we all know where this is headed. The president is experiencing historically low poll numbers. There's going to be a blue wave in November. MAGA is going to be repudiated. Trumpism is going to be relegated to the dustbin of history. Do we focus on that now and worry about reconciliation later? Or when you say, as you often do, let's leave no one behind, are you including the MAGA faithful who hate both of us?
Yeah. I think the thing that I was always taught was leave no one behind means leave no one behind. That leave no one behind doesn't have criteria. That leave no one behind does not have prerequisites. I think about Westernport, which is in Western Maryland, in Appalachia. And I think about when they had historic floods inside of Westernport, literally where boats had to be sent to the second floor of the schoolhouse because the first floor was washed out. And if we did not get boats up to the second floor, the kids would have washed away. And we were some of the first boots on the ground. We got a chance to link up with some remarkable leaders like the mayor of Westernport, a woman named Judy Hamilton, who was actually a lifelong Republican. And I remember when we toured the grounds with her and we were working with her during those first days, and we put in a request to the White House for federal disaster relief because we knew it was justified. And we received something from the White House that literally had one line saying, support for Maryland is not warranted. I called up the Secretary of Homeland Security when she was there. And I told her, and I said, Madam Secretary, I know you think my entire state is Baltimore. But to be clear, the area that you just turned down, they voted for the president by 77%. And once again, they turned down the aid. We then turned around and provided state support to rebuild the library, to rebuild the schools, to dredge the creek and make sure that would never happen again. And when I remember talking with people there and they're like, this area did not vote for you. And there's a good chance this area is not going to vote for you again. And I said, yeah, but I was raised right by my family and I was trained right by the United States Army. We leave no one behind, ever. And so I think that we have to remember that there were people who were willing to give grace to us. When I was coming up, I think if you think about some of the things that I did when I was a kid, it would have been very easy for people to write me off. But they gave me grace. And I just think that we have to be prepared to offer grace, and that healing and reconciliation and fighting for our future do not have to be competing ideas, and nor do they have to be synced. I actually think we can do all of those things at once. We can both fight back against the oppression that we're seeing right now, but also have a focus on healing and reconciliation at the same time.
Governor, I think that's a great note to end on. And I know you've got a heart out. Thank you so much for joining us.
God bless you, man. Happy 4th.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.